everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, my guest today is another one of these multifaceted people. Here are just a couple of things about her. She is an author. She is a hypnotherapist as well as a radio talk show host. Time to welcome Julie Turner. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's certainly a pleasure. There's so many things I want to ask you. I just don't know where to start. So I figured, okay, I'll start with what came first. In
Oh,
those,
goodness. Of all of those things, oh my goodness. Um, I have had quite the long road when it comes to wellness, which is kind of the overview, I guess.
Mhm.
I help people with their physical, emotional wellness, and of course with their relationships. But what was first, I guess, was coaching. And then I brought on, I've always been a writer though. I've been blogging since I've been coaching, even before that.
Okay.
So I guess the writer, although I didn't put out my first book until I think it was 5 years ago now.
Now that book is titled "So I Was Thinking." Is that correct?
Yes. And you can actually download it right off of my website. I don't sell it.
Okay.
I'm bad for that. I'm like, I don't care about making money. I want people to have things and whatever. So I've written another book since then, but it is still with the editor.
Okay.
So mom, hurry up.
You'll have to come back on it so we can talk about that one.
Right.
Well, let's talk about this book first. So tell me what it's about.
Well, so I was thinking is one of my favorite things to start a conversation with. And my good friends and my ex-spouse cringe at the thought because that is something that I often tell. So I was thinking, and then they're like, "Oh boy, what's coming next?"
Yeah.
I've never really been a conventional person. I tend to be right on the edge of convention, if not hanging on by a thread.
Right.
So when I say so, I was thinking it will lead to something out of bounds, so to speak. And this book is a compilation of different blogs actually that I've written on many different topics, everything from dating to self-awareness, all within the same book.
So now getting back to that point, like the coaching about, with all the different points of people's lives, like what made you decide to do that?
I actually, strangely, I was a cosmetologist.
Oh,
And as a cosmetologist, I had, of course, a personal life. And in that personal life, I wanted to run marathons and I had all these different fitness goals. So kept myself in pretty good shape and people started asking me about that. So I thought, oh, well, I'll take my nutrition certification so I can answer questions properly. But
right.
I quickly learned that it really had nothing to do with the food that was put in front of people. It was their mindset around it.
Mm.
So I started taking counseling and coaching courses. I actually have specific counseling around eating disorders and that kind of area as well, because it's not about the food that's on people's plate. Most people have a clue that we should eat some vegetables and some meat and that kind of thing, but we're just not doing it.
Right.
So I moved on from that area of specific health coaching because I became enamored with the parent-child relationship,
Mhm.
like how people perceive they're supposed to raise children versus how it makes sense to raise children versus how we are told. It's just fascinating to me. And the fact is that whether it's a parent-child relationship, romantic relationship, friendship, the basis should be honesty and communication. And I don't know about you, Nancy, but I see a lot of lack of communication out there and just simply not being transparent in all relationships.
Right.
So that kind of leads us to today.
Okay. Now you were an international certified board of clinic hypnotherapy. Did
Yes.
I say that all right?
It's close. The ICBCH is the International Certification Board of Clinical Hypnotherapy, and I am one of their teachers.
Oh,
So
okay.
I can certify others to do clinical hypnotherapy.
Oh,
So that is a course that I teach.
oh,
But
wonderful.
my love, without question, lies in doing more of an intuitive style reading, and that encompasses hypnosis, coaching, sometimes the cards, sometimes numerology. But as I tell people, I'm just here to help you find your truth
Yeah.
so that you can let go of the things that aren't really you.
And being intuitive must definitely be an asset for you.
Well, we're all intuitive. I truly, truly believe that man, woman, child, children especially.
Mm,
Children haven't often children have not had that beaten out of them yet.
right.
The intuitive piece that most adults lose is they start to believe that they can't be right.
Hmm.
They've had failures in life. They've been told that they're wrong, and they're like, I don't know if I should trust me. Like I've gotten things wrong a lot of the time, so I'm not going to trust this inner voice.
Right.
Little tip that I just recently heard, and honestly, I think it was Teal Swan, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. Is to give your inner voice another name so you can believe in it more, because
Oh,
we don't trust ourselves as much as we trust other people. We are so much about external,
right.
not so much internal, which is sad but true. So I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. I already listen a lot to the voices in my head, but it's never a bad thing to, it's about your higher, your best you, your higher self, so to speak. Give that a name
Yeah.
so that when it speaks to you, you can ask it questions and you listen to it. It's brilliant. So,
I guess
like I
it's,
said, I'm not sure if it was Teal Swan or not, but I thought it was a great idea.
yeah, for sure. Well, I'm just thinking about it's like seeing those red flags and believing that they
Right.
are actually red
And
flags.
not going, oh, am I being judgmental? Am
Yeah.
I this? Am I that? No, stop. You had a red flag. Just listen to the red flag. Even
Right.
if it's just a minuscule one, it just means you're headed in the wrong direction. Stop.
Absolutely. Because we all know that once we're out of that situation,
Huh,
should
so
have
true.
listened, right?
We're all human. We're not standing here saying that we don't ever fall for red flags, because I've definitely gone like, oh, I'm just being judgmental. It'll be fine. I'll walk down that dark alley anyways. Not a good idea.
No, I agree. No. And also now let's talk about you're the host of, is it Real Talk Radio? Is that what it's called?
Real talk, yes. So 2 years ago, I think it is, I was offered the announcer position on a radio, an internet radio program.
Okay.
I could decide what I want to talk about. It was
Nice.
internet radio, and I could be as, let's say, lippy as I wanted to be. And it was a pilot project, and I had a lot of fun. And that project was called No BS Talk, so KNOW, and
Okay.
the tagline was where there will be no BS because we know BS. And I was on that with a partner of mine. He no longer wanted to continue. He does my audio for me on Real Talk, and Real Talk is a podcast. It can
Okay.
be found on Spotify,
Right.
on Amazon, on iTunes, all kinds of places. But it is a podcast, and it is something that I still enjoy doing. I'm not as disciplined as I once was. For the radio show, it was once a week at the same time, and I was like, whew, that's a lot of listening to somebody else's wants and needs there. That's not my normal.
Mm.
So I'm a little bit less disciplined with it now.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering, as I read your bio, like, how do you do all of these things? It is always a juggling uh, game, right?
It is, and it's, you tend to gravitate to one more than the other at a time. I also am pretty good at multitasking. Now, for those of you listening or watching right now, nobody can actually multitask. Our conscious mind only does one thing at a time. But what I mean by multitasking is, if I were doing a Zoom call with Nancy, I would be shooting it out to Facebook Live. I would be recording it on Zoom. So
Ah,
then I could put the actual video onto my YouTube channel, and the audio I could put on my podcast, because I
ah,
find that all of those, like, people don't buy into all of them. They're either a YouTube person or they're a podcast person or they're a Facebook person. So you can put your same content. Plus, YouTube has this beautiful thing where it will transcribe for you. Now you got a blog. So
Oh, I
those of
didn't
you
know.
out there that are entrepreneurs,
Oh,
like we don't have to do everything separately.
yeah.
We can just and we can even make it more fun if we want. Maybe this week's video goes on YouTube 2 weeks from now and you put last week's video on, like switch it up.
Absolutely.
Switch it up. Because people aren't, we're very, very important. We're all special little daisies. However, not everybody's watching us all the time.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
you can get away with it.
And for me, like, I understand what you're saying, because I put this on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr,
Right.
all those places, right? And
Well done.
well, it's the only way
Repurpose.
more, because I know some people are fed up of looking at YouTube, for instance, right? Or,
Right.
so whatever the in thing is, that's where the younger people go.
Right.
So if
You
you want
follow that better than I do. I am stubborn. I will be 49 soon, and I'm like, TikTok, Snapchat, like I don't even know what those things are. Never looked at the platforms. Can't see me doing so. That is probably a detriment to me.
well, I learned everything late. I'm 73, so some of this stuff I started like last year, parts of it, so but
That's
when somebody
awesome.
tells me about it, it's like, okay, I'll check it out. I haven't figured out TikTok yet, but but anyway, I'll get there. But my understanding for TikTok, it's only tiny little segments that you can put in, so it's not great for a talk show, whether it's a radio
Probably not.
or this type of thing, right? Yeah. Now, your coaching is the name of it is called Coaching in Flow.
Yes.
That's a really nice name. Like, okay, it just, I don't know how to explain that. It just sounds so, well, it sounds like what it is.
It is. It does sound like what it is. I am also a biohacker. Biohacking is simply optimizing your biology.
Oh,
And part of biohacking is neurology. So, biology is the physical body, of course, and neurology is the mind, the brain. So, coaching in flow speaks to flow state. Flow state is a slower brainwave. So, we have arguably 5 brainwaves, but we have 4 brainwaves that the average person talks about. And you and I are in beta right now because we're like bang, bang, bang. We're at a heightened state. So a little bit slower of a brainwave is alpha. And that's where people tend to be a little bit more creative. Children spend a lot of time in alpha. That's alpha and theta are kind of the flow state. Theta is hypnosis or meditation. And when you are like really working, you're like in flow state. You don't even know what time it is. You don't know you didn't eat, that kind of thing. So I help people, because I'm a hypnotherapist, get into flow state, and we do the therapy there.
oh,
So the point is, if I were to ask you questions like, Nancy, what's your biggest challenge in life? You'd be like, oh my goodness, no, I can't say that. She'll judge me on that. No, I can't do that. So, but if I do it in flow state, you'll see an image.
okay.
I have a really great story actually. Just happened this past weekend. I asked that question when we started a session. I got her into theta, which is hypnosis or meditation, and then I said, I want you to tell me just briefly, like, what is, or to visualize what is your biggest challenge in life. And then I always move on to your biggest success in life, because I don't want to leave people on a low. But what's your biggest challenge in life? And she thought about it. So I knew that the answer coming was not what she saw first. So she said, my biggest challenge is that I can't find enough time to do the things I want to do. And I'm like, okay, that's not true, because you're thinking now. You're telling me what I want to hear.
Okay.
So afterwards I said, okay, so I just want to ask you, and you can tell me if you want, you don't have to. What did you see? What was the visual you saw? And she said, she kind of looked down. She said, my husband. I'm like, great. So that doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It just means that there's something that you might want to work on. So let's look at that. Like, how is everything? That kind of thing. So if I just listened to her, if I had asked her in conscious mind, she would have told me that she didn't have the time to do things. We would have gone through a whole session talking about that, and we never would have gotten to the fact that they were having a disconnect around something. So we gave her a solution that she could go home and work with her husband. She was so excited.
Yeah.
But she would have BS'd me right out of getting her own help. Not because she didn't want it, because she didn't know better.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's fascinating.
Right.
That's wow. That's really good. Do you have just interesting about the people that come to you? Are there more females and males, or is it equal?
At one point, I would say it's probably pretty equal right now, but at one point I significantly had more male clients.
Or male? Okay.
Significantly. And it's really interesting because I had a little bit of a story around that, which is probably why I had more male clients. And I tend to be a little bit more on the masculine side. I don't present masculine. I look feminine and I feel feminine, but I'm very like to the point. And sometimes with women, that's not their favorite thing. So I've learned to speak the language of the person in front of me a little bit better.
Right.
We all learn and grow. I've been doing
Yes.
this for a lot of years now, and I'm still learning and growing. So thank you guys very much for teaching me. But I think we're pretty equal right now.
Okay. That's
But
fascinating, all right? Yeah.
it does ebb and flow, and at one point it was significantly more men.
Very good. Yeah. Now, you were featured on the Sunday Night Sex Show, right?
Yes, that was a fun show to do. I've done a lot of different interviews and things like that, but if you don't know what the Sunday Night Sex Show is, if you're listening right now, it's Maureen McGrath. It's a radio show, and she is a nurse who talks about everything from relationships to the actual act of sex, and what challenges people could have, that kind of thing. And what I spoke on her show about was why we choose the same partner over and over again when we don't want that partner.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
it's,
Yeah.
it's all about trauma bonding, right? It's all about what we're drawn to, even though it's not what we want.
Yeah. Totally cool. And you were also on CTV Winnipeg Breakfast Show.
Yes, at that time I was very much health coaching.
Okay.
So I did a few different segments with them and talked about, we did Valentine's Day, we did Christmas, and we did New Year's. And we just talked about the different, again, I'm not a conventional person, so maybe the opposite side that people would normally think about. So, for example, the Christmas show. I talked about stress around Christmas, how most people perceive it as, have to get everything right, have to get the presents, oh, we're so stressed, we got so many parties to go to, blah, blah, blah. What about the people that maybe just lost a loved one? Maybe they've just gotten divorced. Maybe they've just moved to a new town. They have none of those things going on. Their stress is loneliness.
Right.
Their stress. So really just looking at the opposite and realizing that no matter where you are, we kind of want to be in a different place. So just be grateful for where you are.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just wondering, do people come to you with issues like not being able to sleep, for instance,
Yes, they absolutely do. And, generally when you find a hypnotherapist on Google, it's something about non-smoking or not sleeping well or whatever the case may be. And traditional hypnosis is, when we teach a course and when we take a course, we get all these different scripts. And this script's going to help you stop smoking. And this script's going to help you do this. I don't work that way. So I do hypnosis and coaching all around why this is happening. Not that it is happening, but why it is happening. So it's fascinating. Over and over again, you dig a little bit deeper, and there's generally a relationship. And I will say that 100 times, whether it's smoking, whether it's sleeping, whether it's weight loss. Let's look at relationships. And it's fascinating to me. I love my job. I find my job endlessly fascinating.
I love the fact that you love your job, and one of the reasons why I do this is because I'm fascinated by people and the career choices or their journey to get to there.
Yeah, me too.
I really appreciate the fact that you're unconventional. I think to me that's wonderful.
I agree.
Yeah. Be the person you're meant to be, right?
Right, exactly. Let go of those things that you aren't. Let go of them. There's somebody else's beliefs. There's somebody else's story.
I think that, yeah, that's such a great asset for what you do. For people to know that they can go and speak to somebody who's not going to tell them, no, look, now you should be married or have children or whatever, you know. I think this is awesome.
Right. And you know, that might be your journey. But one of the first questions I ask, because people come and just in their manner of speech, you can tell what's going on. And they're, you know, I always this, or I feel that, or this happens. And I just ask a simple question, like, whose voice is that? Whose voice do you hear? Like, is that actually your story? Or is that, and they think about it, it's like, oh, my dad always said that, or my grandma always said that, or it's like, okay, so it might not even be yours. You might believe it, that might be true for you, but that might be your biggest conflict, is it's not even true for you and you're trying to live by it. So, you know, just simple questions like that help people start to kind of peel that onion, so to speak. I'm not a big fan of that saying because I don't like onions, but it is appropriate. So now, how would people get a hold of you? I try and keep it as simple as possible. julieturner.ca. If you go there, you can reach out in any way. Any social media that I'm on, you can reach out. My phone number's there, my email's there. So it's just the simplest way. And just listen, I'm hoping this will reach a lot of people, because I think so many people need help and don't know. Sometimes they don't know they need help, as you're aware, right? Or they don't know where to go for that particular help. So I think for people, I'm really pleased to be able to have you on the show, so that people can see there's someplace to go where they're not going to be look for the traditional, or maybe they're not wanting the traditional therapist or whatever it is, a counselor, right? So I think this is wonderful. So I really appreciate you being on the show. And I appreciate being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now just hold on while I say goodbye to the audience. So everybody, this has been Julie Turner, and the name of it's called Coaching in Flow. I will put her website included, so you can contact her if you need be. She's also on Facebook, I believe, right? I think that's how I connected with her. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe. I hope you tune in again. And all that being said, peace out, everyone. A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see.